Hey guys, OCP Communications, and welcome to my review of Predator 2. Incredibly underrated sequel. I think it's one of the most underrated sequels out there of all time, easily right up there with RoboCop 2. In fact, it's to this day, I still don't understand the hate it gets from fans of Predator, let alone fans of the genre of action horror in general. I don't understand the hate this movie gets. I didn't understand the hate it got from critics when it came out. I don't understand the fact that I don't get it. This is one of those movies that I'm baffled. RoboCop 2 is another one where I'm pretty much baffled about, but Predator 2 is even more so. Predator 2 is like, I don't even know what. I think this movie is on par with the first film. I think I like this movie just as much as the first movie. And in some points, I think this Predator 2 is a little bit better than the first film. I know, shocker, right? I think the look of the Predator is better in the sequel. I think the Predator gets to do a lot more in the sequel. You get to see the Predator's different gadgets and weaponry, which is really awesome. You also get a little bit more info on the Predator and its code of honor, and all those sort of aspects of the Predator. You get a new location, which I really love. I love the fact that the Predator is now in another type of jungle, but now he's in the urban jungle, which I love that concept and I love that idea, and it's really executed to perfection here. Um, I like the fact that it's Danny Glover in the lead. That really makes it a little bit different too. I've heard different sort of things about Arnold not wanting to be in the movie. I've heard he either had to choose he could have done this, or he could have done T2. So of course he chose to do T2 instead. I've also heard stories that he couldn't do this because he was busy doing Total Recall. I've also heard stories where he read the screenplay and didn't like it because it didn't take place in the jungle and thought it was stupid, so he didn't do it. I've also heard stories. There's all these different sort of stories of Arnold like not wanting to do Predator 2, like he wasn't interested in the sequel. I've also heard that he didn't want to do it over a pay dispute. They weren't going to pay him as much. They weren't going to pay him his price. Whatever the case is, Predator 2 doesn't suck because Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't in the film. I just want to put that out there. It's kind of like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch does not suck because Michael Myers isn't in it. Predator 2 is another example. Just because Dutch Schaefer, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, isn't the lead in this movie doesn't mean that the movie sucks. I'm sorry, this movie is fast-paced, like it says on the back here. Relentlessly paced and extremely entertaining by Daily Variety. I agree with that review to a T. Relentlessly fast-paced and extremely entertaining. And like I said, another way that, like I was saying, oh my God, shocker, it's better than the first movie in some ways. But I still enjoy each movie equally. Um, but it's a better action movie than the first film. I gotta admit, it's a better action film than the first movie is. The first movie's more of a slow pace, slow build, tension, tense. It's a thriller. It's more of a slow build thriller than really a true action movie. Um, Predator 2 is more of an action film. It's more of the quicker pace. It's more of the action set pieces. There's not as many action set pieces in the first film as there are in this movie. I think they upped the ante in so many different ways. The Predator gets to do more. The Predator has a new weaponry. There's a higher body count. There's more gore. In fact, the movie was trimmed considerably by the MPAA, who fucked this movie over. Shoved its own cock up its ass. And decided to say, hey, you're too violent. Literally, I heard there was like 20 different, like 20. This film had to go through 20 cuts in order to get an R rating from the MPAA because Stephen Hopkins went all out with decapitations and spine rips and all this kind of stuff, which makes me like, why? Why was that cut out? Where is this NC-17 cut of Predator 2? Where is this work Predator 2 with all of this gore? I want to see that. The movie's pretty gory and violent as it is, but to imagine that it was even more violent than that, that's badass. I mean, why? Fuck the MPA. I hope the Predator actually comes to town and fucking guts them like a fish. Takes the MPA executives, slings them up, skins them, rips their spines out, and screams bloody murder. That'd be fine with me. Predator come to town and hunt the MPAA. Hunt the Motion Picture Association of assholes. Because we don't need them. Good riddance. But anyway, Predator 2, I mean, you saw I was pretty passionate about the first movie. This first movie is a classic. But Predator 2 is one of those movies that I get even more, kind of like RoboCop 2, where I get even more pumped up to talk about it because it's a movie that just so much shit. Even to this day. WatchMojo.com, they did a video recently about the top 10 most underrated sequels. Predator 2 was nowhere to be found on that list. Not even as an honorable mention. Predator 2 wasn't even mentioned. Not even as an honorable mention, folks. Well, that's another reason why I think Watch Mojo's lists are full of crap. I understand, yeah, it's voted by the fans, but the people who vote on that didn't even make Predator 2 a mention. That shows they don't know what they're talking about. What? Predator 2 wasn't even mentioned, and Jurassic Park: The Lost World got into the top 10? Are you telling me a movie where Jeff Goldblum barely does jack shit in the film, and he gets his ass saved along with everybody else by his daughter who does gymnastics and kicks a raptor in the face? Gymnastics versus dinosaurs is worth being in the top 10 of your most underrated sequels, but not this movie? Where Danny Glover kicks an epic ton of ass? I don't get it. Goes up with the fucking going against the Predator with a shotgun, close range, pumps it full of bullets. I mean, there's so many awesome things about this movie. I mean, action sequences that are just salivating. They just make you salivate and you're hungry for more. I think my voice just cracked because I'm so excited about talking about this movie. Predator 2, yes! But yeah, I mean, I'm going to break my voice getting so excited about this movie. But seriously, The Lost World Jurassic Park, that's on the list, but not Predator fucking 2. That proves right then and there. That's more proof that this movie continues to get disrespected to this day. And a lot of the reasons I hear, I think, are frankly bullshit. It's fine if you don't like the film. I don't have a problem with that. But I disagree with a lot of the problems people have with this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't in it. So what? Danny Glover kicks a lot of ass. I'm not, Danny Glover sucks. If you think Danny Glover, whoa, I didn't buy Danny Glover as a badass. Really? Danny Glover, you didn't buy him as a badass? Oh, I'm sorry. He was Murtaugh and Lethal Weapon. He did kick a lot of ass in those movies. He was too old. He wasn't muscle bound. Like, yeah, I know. I have to admit, it would have been nice to maybe have seen Dolph Lundgren or Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone would have been great. I love Danny Glover, but Stallone as Harrigan might have been even better. But the movie is still an excellent, great film on its own right. But with Stallone versus the Predator, that would have been a dream come true. But that's not what happened. So, of course, Stallone didn't want to follow in Arnold's footsteps. So Danny Glover took the role and kicked ass. It's actually my favorite Danny Glover movie is Predator 2. Harrigan's a badass. He takes no shit. I love it. The scenes where he fucks with Gary Busey are great. Even the way he doesn't take shit from the Predator is awesome. He even calls the Predator pussy face. It's like, okay, pussy's face. It is really an awesome character. And even in the original script, Dutch was supposed to be in the script, but he wasn't the main character. If I remember correctly, he was just going to be the Gary Busey character, which I don't think would be pretty shitty. If Arnold was going to come back as that character instead. Or that was going to be the main character, but then they rearranged the script or something. Either way, it doesn't really... Arnold not being in the film does not mean that this movie sucks. Okay? Sorry. The movie not being in the jungle, I've heard people say it sucks because it's in the city. Why? How many movies can you think of have an alien that comes into the city and kicks ass and fight and fucks up drug dealers? How many times have you seen that? Not very often. If you have seen it, it's in some shitty movie. Usually the alien comes and hunts somebody or takes out people in the woods or in some isolated area, or it's on a spaceship or space station in the middle of outer space. This is one of the best films that I've ever seen that has an alien in an urban environment. I honestly think it might be the best film I've seen with an alien in an urban environment. I'm glad it was in an urban environment. That gave it a different feel and made it so the movie is a standalone sequel because it doesn't take place in the jungle again. So it's not deja vu. Some people complain they want the jungle again. Really? Again? We already did that. I'm glad they went into the city. It was a new place for the predator to hunt. It was a great set piece, and it looked beautiful. There's some beautiful shots of the city in this film, and some really iconic shots, like the predator on top of the building. You know, they have right here on my poster, holding the spine up in the air, roaring, and the lightning striking it. Iconic shots. The predator, also the predator sitting, taking a rest on top of the gargoyle. Great shots. You know, really fantastic, really. Predator 2 in many ways was supposed to be Predator in New York. It was going to have Dutch, who was going to go as a cop. He's going to go after the Predator in New York. Hence why I think that's the Chrysler building right here is on the poster here. This poster behind me was actually discontinued because the people, you know, the poster artists, the studio didn't get the rights to use the Chrysler building, so it was actually discontinued. But anyway, either way, I'm glad I have the poster. But anyway, yeah, New York was originally supposed. In fact, I have the book right here. This is based on the Dark Horse comic of the same name. This book right here, Predator Concrete Jungle by Nathan Archer. This is a great read, too, if you ever want to see what Predator 2 might have been. Predator comes to New York here. I think this is based on a Dark Horse comic, or the comic was then based on this book. Either way, Predator fans, check out this book. It's great. It's awesome. It's really a lot of fun, and make a good movie, and make another good sequel. Hey, Shane Black, you know you're doing another Predator movie. Read this and make this into a movie. Okay? I want to see this. I don't want to see some other reboot, sequel, bullshit, whatever, like Predators. Anyway, it was originally going to be in New York, and so, but understandably that didn't happen. So they scaled it down and made it Los Angeles, and I'm fine with that. So I love the urban environment. I think the urban jungle was a nice step in the right direction. I really like that aspect of the film. I don't think that's a problem. And there's other people say it's the same movie. Really? This is the same movie as Predator. I vehemently disagree with that. I vehemently disagree with that point of view. I think it's a very good standalone sequel. It's a lot different than the first movie. The only similarities are, once again, vague similarities that don't really make it the exact same movie. The Predator comes to town. Of course. What was it not going to come to town? I mean, and some people complain it was going to be, why would it be in the jungle? Why isn't it in the jungle? Well, that would have been even more of like the first movie. So the fact that they took it into the city means that it's not that a further thing that makes it so it's not like the first film. You have a different lead played by Danny Glover. You have a different supporting cast. You have a different Predator who has different sort of tactics, a little bit more impulsive. It's less of an elder hunter like the Predator in the first film. You have the whole plot dealing with Keys and Gary Busey trying to capture the Predator and trying to, use it, catch his technology and use it for personal gain. And they're also wearing Illuminati all over themselves, which of course we're like, Illuminati, oh, conspiracy theories. It is kind of weird though. I mean, Keys and a lot of the guys who were trying to capture the Predator were all wearing like Illuminati symbols on their outfits. I mean, I can see why people might think something might be conspiracy theories here, but it's probably some innocent costume design that they just did that they were not really trying to channel the Illuminati, or maybe it's an in-joke. I don't know, because they're the government, so the Illuminati is watching. But anyway, seriously, you have Keys, Gary Busey trying to capture the Predator. You have a lot of new stuff. You have the cool scene in the slaughterhouse where they think they outsmarted the Predator, but really they underestimated it, and the Predator takes their asses out in a really cool, suspenseful, tense scene with a really well-shot sequence. It's really original and inventive, where they try to put the radioactive dust so they can see it, and they got the lights, and they got wearing these outfits that make it so they can't see the Predator can't see their body temperature. But then again, they were dumb enough to have lights on so they could scan and look for the Predator. So the Predator just changed its vision so it can just focus in on the lights. And even Harrigan is like, it's focusing on the lights. Get your man out of there. You know. But either way, I mean, still, it just makes it for a really fun, inventive, cool sequence. The Predator in this, a lot of people kind of bitch that it's too weak. This isn't an elder Predator. This is a more impulsive Predator. This is a young Predator. I'm sorry, I don't think it's that weak. It got an arm cut off and still was kept on ticking. It got shot at blank range like twice. And, Bill Paxton shot it a bunch of times in the subway scene, and then Harrigan shot at a close range with a shotgun, and it still got up and kept on ticking. It wasn't until Harrigan finally used his own weapon against it that it finally died. In fact, it put up a little bit more of a fight than the Predator in the first movie did. If you think about it, the Predator in the first movie got smacked by a log and that was it, and then had to type in the self-destruct code. But either way, actually, I think both Predators pretty much fared a little bit better. The only difference, the only thing that people kind of can point to where this Predator was like kind of a bitch is that it lost its arm. That's really about it. Other than that, I thought this Predator did a pretty good job and almost had Harrigan there. And I'm pretty sure Harrigan himself was probably shocked that he was able to kill the thing. But I don't see much. I'm really personally, I don't find anything wrong with this movie. I don't even think the score is a problem. Some people say, like, a friend of mine, I think, said he doesn't like the score, a little bit ethnic, tribal sound. He doesn't like it. It warmed up to me. I don't think it's a problem at all. I think it sounds perfectly in line with the film. And Alan Silvestri reuses certain cues from the first movie to a great degree. And it's just still a solid score. A lot of it's pretty much recycling music from the first movie. The first music score is so iconic to Predator, though, and I'm glad they reused it and didn't try to do some completely different new type of score. And I'm glad they reused the iconic music that the iconic music cues from the first film in this movie. Stan Winston studios came back and did the makeup effects. Kevin Peter Hall came back and played the Predator. I thought this is his best performance as the Predator because he was able to do more. Right? Like maybe they found a way so he could finally see, uh, and he was able to have more time to practice the movements of the Predator and so forth. Um, I think the direction by Stephen Hopkins is really top notch. A huge step up from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. And in some ways, I can't really blame Stephen Hopkins for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. Part 5, really. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, because it really is 5 parts in your face. But Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, I can't really blame Stephen Hopkins for that film and its lack of success. And because he didn't have much to work with this really messed up screenplay in a short notice. And he did some interesting shots in that film, so I can't really blame him for that film's problems. Even Blown Away that he did, I think that came out the same year or after this, with Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones, which I'm not the biggest fan of the film. There are sequences in it that are well directed by Stephen Hopkins. Stephen Hopkins isn't a director that deserved to never really get another shot after Predator 2 and maybe a few other films, maybe to direct a video or something, but his career is pretty much nowhere right now, and I'm sorry, Stephen Hopkins deserves better than that. The action sequences he directed in this movie were thrilling and exciting and fast-paced and better than any action scene I've seen in any action movie this year so far. John Wick, on the other hand, looks like it might have some really badass action sequences. This new film that's coming out with Keanu Reeves. But anyway, yeah, Predator 2, I mean, I had to start out this review defending it because in a way it's one of those movies that I think is worth defending. It's nowhere near as bad as his reputation suggests it is. I don't understand the hate it gets. I don't get it. The acting is shitty. Like, are you really looking for Oscar-worthy acting in Predator 2? Newsflash, the acting in the first movie wasn't Oscar-worthy either. But I'm not complaining because I'm not looking for Oscar-worthy acting in Predator 2. So, I mean, it's just I'm looking for actors who are good with their roles, and they are. I think Maria Conchita Alonso does a good job with the role that she has. Danny Glover, I think, is badass, straight up badass motherfucker in this movie. Gary Busey does a good job as the agent, FBI jerk off. Peter Keyes, Ruben Blades, I really liked as Danny. Bill Paxton was a lot of fun as Detective Jerry Lambert, the Lone Ranger, who was just making all these, jokes and quips and stuff like that. Robert Davi was good in a little bit role. Adam Baldwin was solid as Garber, who was a member of Key's uh, task force, not tax. Morton Downey Jr. had a fun cameo as Tony Pope, who's a journalist of Hard Copy. I even like Calvin Lockhart as King Willie. Um, yeah, I thought the cast is really solid. Great supporting cast. The screenplay by Jim and John Thomas, I thought was pretty solid too. A really fun sense of humor. In some ways, it's even a little bit more funnier than the first movie. Um, just such a thrill ride, such an entertaining, fun action, movie with some horror elements, definitely, but still definitely more of an action film, and it's kind of a lot like Aliens in that respect. Aliens is more of a straight up action movie than a horror film, but had its horror moments, much like Predator 2, and Aliens pretty much was praised, rightfully so, right from the get-go. But Predator 2 seems to be the one like, oh, Predator 2. I haven't heard people say like, Predators is so much better. I'm sorry. That's another thing I vehemently disagree with. Predators was not better than Predator 2. Not even close. And that's just my opinion. And people feel Predators is better than Predator 2, fine. That's their opinion. But I disagree. I definitely do disagree with that because I think Predators sucked. Predators was a shitty movie. And I'm not watching that movie again. I'm not watching Navy P. I'm not watching Alien versus Penises this October. That'll be some other time. I'm okay. I'm not ready for Aliens versus Penises or Aliens versus Penises Requiem. I'm not ready for that. So I'm just gonna stick with this movie for Predator related films. But anyway, yeah, Predator 2 is just such a fucking badass movie. I mean, I almost really don't want to go super overboard. Like, I mean, there's a few like trivia and elements and whatever might be some interesting sort of stuff, but I almost want to start condensing my reviews a little bit more. So yeah, if you want some trivia, go on IMDb. There's some really interesting trivia on the making of the movie. Stuff talking about where it was hard to shoot, where they were shooting at, like in the alley, and actually found a dead body. Really, they were like, it's hard to shoot down here. It made it even worse that we found a dead guy. That's pretty bad. That's pretty intense. Of course, I already talked about Arnold's waffling, like I'm in Total Recall. No, I'm gonna do Terminator 2. I don't want to do Predator 2. You're not paying me enough. I don't know what it was, but and whatever, it didn't matter because Danny Glover kicked a lot of ass. In fact, he kind of kicked a little bit more ass than Dutch did. I admit Arnold kicked ass in the first Predator. But he did a lot of more booby trap kind of stuff, covered himself in mud, tried to play Tarzan, shooting arrows and stuff. Harrigan went on the Predator head on, man, with a shotgun. Dutch didn't have anything nearly as badass as that. He didn't take the Predator's own weapon and stab him with it and say it's awesome one-liner, shit happens. It was just awesome. I mean, I kind of got to give the edge in terms of total badassery to Harrigan. I love Schaefer. I love Schwarzenegger. Predator's my favorite Schwarzenegger film. Predator 2 is my favorite Danny Glover movie. But Harrigan kicked more ass. The opening shootout where the door gets blown up, the door gets pulled off his car, police car, and he's shooting at these drug dealers. The way the movie opens up is awesome. Just right off the bat, you're right in the middle of a firefight. I love the location. Like I said, I will repeat it. Location is great in this movie. I really like the sort of, it takes place in the near future of 1997, which I didn't really like that aspect of the plot. I'm like, why? Why does it have to be in the future? That wasn't really necessary. But it's all hot because of global warming, which really isn't that far-fetched. So, but I like the fact that everybody is sweating their ass off, and this whole movie took place in like the biggest heat wave in LA history or whatever. So it made sense that the Predator would come to town then, because the Predator likes it hot. But anyway, I mean, yeah, the opening of the film is badass. The Predator lays waste to a bunch of these drug dealers. Even having some good shootouts in between there and explosions. Just a great way to open the film. And then right from the beginning, you're hooked. Danny Glover's giving Robert Davi's trying to give Danny Glover some shit, and he's like giving him, and Danny Glover won't take it under any circumstances. It's awesome. And it's got a great partner played by Ruben Blades and Marie Conchita Alonso. Bill Paxton comes in and tries to put moves on Marie Conchita Alonso, grabs him by the balls. So like, you play that cowboy shit with me, kiss these goodbye. And this is really a lot of fun lines, dialogue, good moments. The Predator has some awesome scenes where it comes in and just lays waste to people, hits some guy with a net, goes after drug dealers, uses its spear, which I love the spear, which is not in the first movie. Predator doesn't have nearly as much weaponry as he does in the second film. I think the Predator is better in the second movie. Yeah, I said it. I think the Predator in this is better than the Predator in the first movie. It's my favorite Predator on film. I like the way it looks. I love its weaponry, and yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite movie monsters. To be honest, is the Predator from this film, and just so much is awesome about this movie. The last 30 minutes are just fast-paced and just exciting, action-packed awesomeness. Harrigan going after the Predator, and it's just one scene after another of awesomeness, even with a little bit of humor too, with the old lady who's going after here's something going on in her bathroom and tries to, go after it, the thing with a broom, but the Predator bursts out of the wall, and then Harrigan comes in. That's all right, I'm a police officer. It's like, I don't think he gives a shit. There's really a lot of, fun lines like that. I like the aspect that it showed the actual look of the Predator's ship at the end of the film. I like the aspect that the Predator is a little bit more vulnerable. Harrigan fought on his feet a little bit and cut its arm off, and then it was still able to keep on going after that, though. I like that. I don't think that's a problem. Um, I like the scene at the cemetery, where Harrigan is saying, goodbye to his friend Danny. And I thought it was a really good suspenseful scene where the Predator hangs Danny's necklace off a tree, and I like the whole paranoia aspect of it. I love the subway train sequence. It's full of, dark, wry humor, and then it also has it's really well shot with the strobe lighting. It's an excellent sequence. And I like the aspect the Predator doesn't kill Maria Conchita Alonso because she's pregnant. So that was showed more of the Predator's code of honor. Like I said, there's just so many different things about this movie. I love the scene where the Predator goes after King Willie, walking on water. Excellently well shot sequence, well edited. There's just so much to like about this movie. Gary Busey, he's on a safari. He's on a safari. Lions, tigers, bears. Oh my. There's just a lot of, not Robert Downey Jr., Morton Downey Jr., the hard copy guy trying to get his story, and they're like, Harrigan, what are you going to say? I'm like, fuck you. It's awesome. That you want to see, it's exactly what you want to see happen to paparazzi. Just get knocked the fuck out. It was very crowd pleasing. There's just so many crowd pleasing fun moments of this movie. It's just such an entertaining flick. The first movie was underrated for how much fun it was to watch. And Predator 2 is just like the first film. It's a blast. It's a blast to watch. It's fast-paced. It's got arguably even better action scenes than the first movie. It's got a great supporting cast. It's got a great lead in Danny Glover. I don't care what people say. Danny Glover is a badass. I'm sorry, Danny Glover sucks. Well, Danny Glover right now, however old he is right now, in his 60s, could kick your ass. I guarantee he could. Could wipe the floor with you punks. Even at his age. Danny Glover is fucking badass. I know it sounds repetitive, and I do, and there's a reason why, because Danny Glover is a badass in this movie. And just, yeah, I mean, might not be much of a review, but Predator 2 is just a movie that I felt that it would be more of a defending type review. This movie is not as bad as people make it out to be. It doesn't deserve the crap it gets. It doesn't deserve to be called mediocre. It doesn't deserve to be called by people who see it being like, nah, it was all right compared to the first movie. No! I'm sorry. I'll say it right here. This is as good as the first movie. And like I said, there are some things about it that are better. But I would say at the end of the day, if I was going to rate Predator 2, I'd give it the same rating as the first film. 5 out of 5. 2 thumbs up. Both movies are excellent. Both movies are fantastic. Both movies are R-rated action horror classics. And I think the first movie, of course, gets the respect it deserves, but Predator 2 doesn't for some reason. And that just blows my mind. I don't understand. I don't get why. But yeah, I really don't know what to say about Predator 2 except awesome movie, great sequel, one of the best sequels out there, one of the most underrated sequels of all time, and also one of the most underrated movies out there. Predator 2, just such a great film, underrated, excellent, fast-paced, entertaining, thrilling movie that I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen the film yet, check it out. You don't even have to watch the first movie to enjoy Predator 2. But a lot of you have probably seen the first movie. But if it's also a movie that you didn't really like the first time around, I suggest you check it out again. Because there's so much about this movie to like. There's so much there. And that's why I don't understand the hate it gets. There's so much that is done right here that my brain just cannot comprehend why it just gets so much crap. I'm glad Fox gave it a special edition and this is a great DVD, but still, to this day, disrespect. And this movie doesn't deserve that. Predator 2 does not deserve to be disrespected. Anyway, thanks for watching my review of Predator 2, and I will see you guys later. See ya.